Good morning, Carl Johnson.
Good morning, Bob Ponce.
So, today is a day of celebration, but it's also a day of mourning.
Yeah, yeah,
So, we're mourning because we've reached that mark where 400,000 people have died from the COVID virus here in the US.
yeah. It's a very, very, very sad, unnecessary situation. It just did not have to be this way,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not over. It's not over. People are running like there's this cure, in the vaccine. But if people aren't taking the precautions, it doesn't matter. People are still going to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
And enough people don't take it, it won't matter because people are still going to get sick and they're going to die.
And we know how preventable this is because we saw information from the experts and we reported on it back in September, maybe early October, that the predictions was 400,000 dead by January,
Yeah,
and unfortunately we made that, and it's entirely due to human behavior.
right. And the crowds are continuing. The gatherings, the large gatherings are still
Hmm.
continuing. And so unless people, Bob, I'm just at a loss. I really don't know what we can do or what we can say because the behavior just won't change. And with everything that's going on and all of the data, and people are not willing to get it. They're willing to risk your life, you know.
Well, we said this was a day of celebration, and there is a day of hope because now we have a new regime in Washington. I looked at my phone a little while ago, and 45 has left the building. They've flown him out of there, and so I'm sure there's a staff of people coming in to fumigate, and in a couple of hours we'll have an inauguration, a new president and a new regime, and hopefully that means that a coordinated federal response to this pandemic will still make the changes necessary so that I mean there's still predictions that the 400,000 goes up to 500,000, fairly quickly. So I don't know where this stops, but if we can stop the spread, hopefully we have a chance that maybe toward the end of this year we'll start to see something, like normal.
I don't know. I hope so, but I was just reading an article this morning about how the people are continuing to organize in big groups. And it's just maddening that this has been a year. It's one thing to say it's new, something is new, and it takes a minute to get used to. This has been a year. Now 400,000 people are dead, and those are not real time numbers. It's more. Um, all the people, what's the numbers of people infected? Over 10 million people have the infection.
Hmm.
And I don't know what you can do to get through to these people.
Hmm.
You know, I don't wish anybody harm, but I don't know. I don't know. And then we had this guy, I'm not going to even mention his name, that's being swept out now in Washington, who got it, made a mockery of it. All the people around him made a mockery of it. So all of those people that are just as mentally challenged as he is, psychotic people, they're still playing games with it. You still have
Hmm.
people doing these little um, side games where let's see who can get COVID in the group first.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just an atrocity that people would take life, so recklessly. And we
Mm-hmm.
know something that spreads. I mean, if you want to get something that will kill only you, and it's not contagious, there's one thing. But that's not the case. That's not what we're dealing with here. This
Mm-hmm.
is something that you can live with, you know, building an internal immunity to it without a vaccine, apparently, with the antibodies. Something is happening with that. They're still looking at. But that's not the case. You just go
Mm-hmm.
around just, spreading it and still making a mockery of it.
Mm-hmm. So I want to shift and talk about some of the issues that we've been having here in New York in terms of the vaccine distribution, and particularly in our neighborhoods. And I'd like you to speak on that because you've been following this, and it seems like a lot of these problems mirror the same problems that we saw in just getting full testing in our communities.
Yeah, it's the same thing. No testing sites. New testing sites are being coming up weekly. However, I'm looking now for, I believe it's like the third week. Nothing new has come to East Harlem. Um,
In other words, they were supposed to have a 24-hour facility open up at La Marqueta, correct?
yeah, well, originally it was supposed to be, it was cited, touted as a 24/7 mass vaccination hub.
Mm-hmm.
And now, the information we're getting is it's not. It's for NYCHA houses,
Mm-hmm.
which you can set up the vaccination. We see that you can set up those sites practically anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Every NYCHA housing um, complex has a community room.
Mm-hmm.
You have Johnson Project that has a humongous community room where that can be set up,
Mm-hmm.
but La Maqueta is still very, very sketchy because even though they keep saying it's 24/7, there's 13 of these type locations opening up around the city. But just very recently, going right to the governor's page, it's only for people in nature.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens to the rest of the people? Because as of now, there's there's a couple of sites that are not on the NYC.gov's website. They're not on the governor's website. So
Mm-hmm.
how are people supposed to find these places?
Mm-hmm.
So of course, I'm sort of the investigator for the East Harlem COAD, and
Mm-hmm.
I called the number, which is the one number, the only number you're supposed to be able to call.
Mm-hmm.
I got no information about a vaccine, and
Mm-hmm.
then it said something about for more information, hit six. I hit six. I got a repeat of the same message.
Mm-hmm.
I hit six again. I got the repeat of the same message. No mention of vaccines. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when they had the other number, my colleague called. They were sending her to Ulster County. That's like two and a
Mm-hmm.
half hours away from here. An 88-year-old woman in Brooklyn, they tell her you have 1 hour. I mean, in Harlem, you have 1 hour to get to Brooklyn. What
Mm-hmm.
the ham sandwich is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just as messy as the testing.
Mm-hmm. And then the other issue they're having is that although last week and this week they were apparently cranked up the number of doses that they got out and they surpassed their goals, but the mayor's office is reporting that they're running out of supply and will be out of supply by the end of this week. So these are the issues that we're facing, but we understand that the supply issues are not that's not the city's fault necessarily, but not having clear information again in our communities, and we continue to see this, is that we always seem to have some shoddy, it's either the information is not available, which means that our people are not getting to it. Now we do know that they created a vaccine spot at the Abyssinian Baptist Church, and that seemed to go well that day in terms of meeting all of the appointments that came. But it's just unacceptable at this stage in the game for them to have sites up and we don't know where they are, having no access on the phone number that's put out to call. And we've just got to see a better job being done from our city officials and more coordination between the city and the state so we know what's going on. So we'll continue to monitor that issue. I wanted to take some time and put out some information that I think is going to be very, very useful. And this is about COVID recovery regimen. And as you said, now more than 10 million Americans have been infected, which means we've got 10 million people in a recovery mode from COVID. And this got prompted to me from a friend of mine who was in recovery and reached out to me and said, "Hey, you like to do research. What should I be doing?" And so, while we've been saying certain things since the beginning and those things still continue to hold true, I said, well, let me do a little bit of homework and really see what the experts are saying. So I was able to find a regimen, and this regimen comes from the Hospital for Special Surgery here in New York City. It's considered one of the leading facilities in the world. It's the number one orthopedic hospital in the U.S. And so the content we're going to share is basically was written or reviewed by the hospitals for special surgery physicians who have expert knowledge and experience in musculoskeletal care. And that's important because what's happened with a lot of people who are suffering from COVID is that they lose muscle mass and they lose strength. And so I wanted to go through some of the protocols that they suggested in terms of coming back from COVID and what you should be doing. And so the first thing they recommended is that you eat on schedule, that you create an eating schedule, make regular meals and snacks part of your routine, because eating regularly will help provide your body with the nutrients and calories you need to restore. The second thing they recommended is that you make sure that you have enough protein in your diet, because eating enough protein at every meal is essential to help stimulate your muscle growth and prevent the continued breakdown of the muscle. And they particularly recommended at least 25 to 35 grams of protein in each meal. And you can get these sources obviously from fish, poultry, other meat, dairy. For those who are vegetarian, you can get it from beans, and most vegetarians know the sources of plant-based protein, so you can still get that protein even if you do not eat the meat or fish. But it's really important that coming back from COVID, that you have enough protein in your diet. It's also important to make sure you're eating enough calories and having well-balanced meals. This reduces stress on the body. It allows the food to help build the strength. And they're suggesting that you balance the protein with vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and other starches. Um, they recommended vitamin C, which is something that we talked about, since March, to make sure that you have it in your protocol. Vitamin C is one of your greatest immune boosters. Obviously, as we know, it's found in many very fruits and vegetables. And they are recommending that you eat foods with vitamin C with each meal, and that's because vitamin C is water soluble, so it doesn't stay in your body. So you want to have a continual source of vitamin C to help your body promote its immune system. And as we talked about in the past, there are a number of different foods, and you can see them on the screen that have vitamin C. We recommend that you add them to your shopping list, and you try to eat, something in every meal that has vitamin C. They've also recommended zinc, another substance that we've talked about as essential for a healthy immune system. You can find zinc in seafood and meat, and to a lesser extent in yogurt, nuts, and beans. And we also recommend there are certain substances that help the zinc be more effective. They're called ionophores, and they help the zinc get into the cells. And you can find some of these substances in green tea, also in onions. So you may want to drink green tea along with your zinc to help it be more effective, but you definitely want to get zinc in your system. Last but not least, our good friend vitamin D. We've been talking about vitamin D since March. Vitamin D is more than just a vitamin; it's actually a powerful hormone, and it's involved in thousands of different systems in your body. It helps promote bone health, muscle function, and immunity. As we've talked about it, we can get vitamin C directly from the sun, but usually during the winter months, we don't get enough of it. So obviously, we recommend that you either use supplements or food sources for vitamin C, vitamin D rather. Um, their other recommendation is gut health, probiotics, and prebiotics. And so when you talk about your gut is actually the first line of defense against infection. And as we get older, our bodies become less able to maintain a healthy environment in our gut. And so that there are things we can do to help them. And you've heard the term probiotics and prebiotics, and these are food sources that have different live cultures in them, such as yogurt, kombucha, kefir, pickled vegetables, miso, sauerkraut. These are these fermented foods that have live, friendly materials in there that help your digestive system, but they also help your immune system. And so it's a recommendation again from the hospital for special surgery that you add probiotics to your diet as well. Um, they also recommend having calcium. Calcium is important for bone health because as you lose muscle, you also lose bone density. And so calcium rich foods are essential to keep your bone mass that you have. And finally, omega-3 fatty acid foods. Omega-3s help in reducing inflammation. And what usually happens coming out of COVID is your body is experiencing significant inflammation. Often the inflammation is what causes the serious results of COVID. And so you want to be eating foods that are rich in omega threes. Omega threes we know are found in fatty fishes, so salmon, tuna, sardines, herring, sea bass, and mackerel. You can also find tremendous amounts of omega threes in chia seeds and flax seeds and edamame. They have omega threes as well. And again, HSS recommends eating fatty fishes at least a couple of times a week. Um, and finally, hydration. Staying hydrated is always important, especially when you're sick. And as we get older, our thirst sensation is not acute, and we tend to drink less. So you should pay more attention to the amount of water and liquids that you are drinking, and all these things, as well as exercise and proper sleep, can also help you in your recovery period. And again, this information was put together by the Hospital for Special Surgery. We have the link up there so you can go and read it in more detail. But it's one of the best comprehensive guides that we saw in terms of the things that you need to do in order to recover from COVID.
I mean, this is really excellent information. Kudos to them for breaking it down and giving that out like that, because a lot of the medical institutions still aren't talking um,
Mm-hmm.
holistically, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what this is. Because of course there's the game with taking medications and never really talking about how you know you can best heal yourself without having to take a lot of unorthodox medications.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things can be found in the average supermarket now, because
Mm-hmm.
people are starting to get into it. So I know I can find it in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you named, I can find in Harlem. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not a difficult task. But when I think about people who've had this, the fear that they have of getting it again, talking about the residual effects of it, you know, that's about the only way that you can restore your body to some semblance of what you saw as normal before. And at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, you're a lot better than you were before. You're
Mm-hmm.
healthier than you were before.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really, really important that we maintain these diets and try to keep these regimens, period, because that's what's going to help build the immune system. And the immune
Mm-hmm.
system is the key factor. So no
Mm-hmm.
matter what, everything that we've been talking about over these past months and months and months about the immune system, this is another form of it. And it goes beyond that. And it talks about the exercise we talked about all this time.
Mm-hmm.
Staying healthy. That's how you try to sleep better. Try to exercise, try to keep your mental health and different things intact. So it still goes back to everything that we've been talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
it's major. So whether you have COVID or you don't have COVID, this is one of the best ways not to get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the interesting thing about this regimen is is most of the things they talked about were the same things that we saw from other experts in terms of what was being recommended to tune or boost your immune system. Um, uh so to help you your body combat against it. And so we recommend these things whether it's before, during, or after. You should be doing these same things. In particular, it's important for people to understand that even if you've had the vaccine, it's really important that you do these things because your body still needs to be in tip-top condition to be able to do what it needs to do. Once the vaccine has identified for your body what the virus looks like, your body's immune system still needs to be in its best shape in order to fight the COVID. And the other thing that is important to understand that full immunity does not happen immediately after the first shot. What the experts are saying is that 14 days after the second shot is when your body is at a point where the data is saying you'll have 99% immunity. And so that means if you've had the first shot, you have some protection, but you're not going to have full protection until at least a week or two after the second shot. And so that means that if you've had the vaccine, you should still continue to wear masks. You should still continue to social distance and give yourself a buffer zone to allow your body to catch up. And that also means during that period of time, you should be doing the same thing in terms of boosting your immune system with vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc. We still recommend melatonin as well. the omega-3s, and anything that will help remove inflammation from your body. These things are all uh, important for all of us right now. And if there's anything we take from 2020 as a wake-up call, is that as a community, we need to pay more specific attention to all of our health factors, because it's the comorbidities that created the extreme loss of life that we had in our community. And it's the same things that we've heard about for a number of years, but now instead of killing you slowly, those same factors kill us quickly because of the virus. So we urge everyone to take your own health profile seriously. Do the things you can do to give your body the best chance to do what it does naturally.
Yeah, and if you get that vaccine, I suggest that you try staying home. Stay home a little bit more in between the shot. Stay home a little
Hmm.
more after the shot.
Hmm.
Because just like with the syndromes hitting people when they become infected, some people start feeling this, not syndrome, symptoms. Some people start feeling it within the first day or second of infection. Then you have people that don't start feeling them until a week and a half. 2 weeks
Hmm.
later, they start to feel things slowly start to hit them. So we have, immune systems process things differently. You have people who are asymptomatic. You have like asymptomatic um, systems, which cause things to sort of creep up on you differently. It's not like in that normal realm for everybody else. And so that's the time when you should try staying away from people. We saw um, one of our elected officials from East Harlem who was locked in during that insurgence. Now he got the second shot, but people
Hmm.
are saying, "Well, what's the point of the vaccine if he got the second shot and he still got COVID after that?" He got COVID, but again, when they say there's a margin between 2 weeks after you get it and a month when the fullness of the vaccine and immunity was set in. Unfortunately, he had just gotten the shot 1 week before this lockdown and he
Hmm.
got it. So, it's like that 21 to 28-day period between those shots. Just try to stay in, try to protect yourself a little more. Go into more of that quarantine period, that sort of shelter that place. Get your food, your water, whatever. Try staying away from people to guarantee that nothing's going to sneak in before the immunity sets in. That's between the shots or after the shot. Just try staying away from people, crowds, supermarkets. You go out 5 times. If you go out 3 times a week, try going out once a week. Get as much as you need or as much as you could bring home or get things delivered so that you're not out there putting yourself in risk. It doesn't make sense to take the vaccine, put yourself in risk, and still get this disease. This man had no choice because a bunch of nuts, stormed the house. So he had no choice but to be locked down with them. But it's just further proof of why you need to maintain extra precautions, in order not to get it after you're waiting for the immunity vaccine to set in.
And we also want to encourage anyone, if you're having problems either finding vaccine locations, or you having some of the issues that we talked about earlier, you should definitely call 311 to report it. But we'd also like you to call us. You can call our number at 347-916-6119. That's not live. You can leave a message there. We're a small organization. We don't have somebody sitting by the phone all the time, but we will check that information, and we will try to follow up on situations as we hear about them. So keep us informed, and we'll do our best to see what we can find out about it. And we want to monitor these situations, and hopefully we can see those some improvement in what's going on in terms of being able to effectively get information out to people in terms of where they can get vaccines and or testing.
Yeah, seriously, like looking for a needle in a haystack. But, you know, we aim to get the information. It may be a little difficult to track it down, but we do aim to get the information. And, right now we're just asking people to exercise patience, because there's a lot of places that have gotten the vaccines and they're running out. People have appointments, um, and they're forced to wait. There's some places where not only did they run out of vaccines, but people were online for like, what was it, 2 to 4 hours. You
Hmm.
know, so you have to be a little patient, the same way you've been patient um, during this entire pandemic. Got to exercise a little more patience. Help is
Hmm.
on the way. It's there. You just may have to dig a little deeper to find it, and you just got to exercise patience. But like Bob said, 311 is always there to get this information.
Hmm. So that's it for our COVID report for today. We did say that today is a day of celebration. As you know, we have an inauguration starting early afternoon. Harlem Emergency Network, we will be on live during the inauguration with the New York North Radio Network. We are staying on alert during the inauguration. We're not anticipating problems, but we're staying aware because we recognize that if there are any problems today, they're probably not going to happen in Washington, D.C., but they may happen in other places. So we're going to continue to monitor the things that happen in our region. But we wish President Biden and Vice President Harris the best. They're in our thoughts, our hopes, our prayers that they can be successful in addressing the problems that were left behind in their lap from this
Oh
prior
boy.
administration, and that today is the start of a new chapter where we can begin to heal physically, mentally, and emotionally this country.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about where we are, and thank you for not being politically correct, because I sure wasn't going to use the president and vice president elect word. I wasn't going there.
I
They are
didn't
the
say it,
vice
I said
president.
they're our president
That's what I
now.
said. I'm glad
I
that you said that, because that's what I was going to say. Forget
uh-huh.
that president elect. Forget that vice president elect. We have a new regime of for new president, Joe Biden, Joseph Biden, and a new vice president, a sister, a woman of color, Kamala Harris. And I am so excited. I am already celebrating. I'm the girl with the pearls today. And
I
today is
see
the
you.
day that
I
we are
see you.
celebrating. And this I just feel free.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very patient person with in not all the time, so let's not get it twisted. But for the
Hmm.
most part, I'm a very, very patient person. And we gotta be patient with what's coming in. Don't expect that they're gonna walk in today and everything's gonna be solved by next week. That's not gonna happen. But
Yeah.
there are promises that he's making. Um, there are a lot of things that he immediately says tomorrow he's going to have to start undoing, that this guy that's thank God we've been rid of has done to harm, hurt, and kill Americans.
Mm-hmm.
He has to undo some of that, some of those
Mm-hmm.
executive orders, get rid of that stuff in order to work. So there's many, so many different things on the table that he has to work with. So we got to
Mm-hmm.
be patient,
Mm-hmm.
And he says he's I believe he's going to get those vaccines out quickly. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to get them out as quickly as he can. But it's not, this country has been left in such a mess. There are a lot of pertinent things that need to be looked at. The
Mm-hmm.
vaccine, number one, but at the same time, our financial ruin, our economic ruin, um, the health care of people, the money, the evictions. There's so many things that's happening that's just pandemic associated.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about all the other stuff he jacked up.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many places that he has to put his pen to change things around. So just be patient, give them a chance. But today, let's just celebrate, you know, let's just celebrate that change has come. Sam Cooke sang that song, A Change is Gonna Come, and today is the day.
The
So
change has come.
change has come. So I'm going to a luncheon virtual for the girls with the pearls. We all going to be in a virtual luncheon this afternoon. We'll be
Mm-hmm.
celebrating through the day. And, I'm just excited about where we're going and the possibilities that things are going to turn around probably a little quicker than we think.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll be here on live from 12 to 2 here on Harlem Emergency Network on both Facebook and YouTube. We're gonna do some, just some light coverage just to make sure, again, check in with our New York North Radio Network. I think we're gonna try to stream some of the inauguration activities as well. And we're here to just kind of keep track of what's going on. We obviously wish everyone in the best, and then we're here in the following days, like everyone else, to play our role into sharing information because we all must work together. It's not all on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They're not going to solve the problems by themselves. They're going to solve it with a coalition of people using common sense and humanity together to get things done, to straighten out the problems that were left, and to move forward. So.
That's right. Let's not forget that it's not just followers of that doom and gloom administration we got rid of. There's other people
Mm-hmm.
that's not getting this. We need everybody to get on board with this. We
Mm-hmm.
have different variants of the coronavirus out there now. It's hit, New York. First it was in the state, now it's in the city. It's hit New York. And so the
Mm-hmm.
variants that are much more easy to get, they say there's not as dangerous as the original virus or this form of the virus that we're dealing with now, COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still something you don't want to get. So now you got something that's even easier to pass on.
Mm-hmm.
So we really, really, really got to buckle in and stop the nonsense.
Yep.
But no, it's not only his followers in his group that's chock full of nuts, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are other people who still don't believe what's going on. And that's why we need to do this. We got to be a village. It's time
Yep.
for us to take this seriously and be a village and
Right.
work together to combat this thing. Because week after week, or month after month, we'll come back and we'll talk about how this is hard to find in our neighborhoods. That's hard to find. You know, um, Things come to us last, and that's all the more reason why you need to take these precautions more seriously.
Mm-hmm. So that is it for us for this morning. We're here every Wednesday morning at 9:30 a.m. We're live on Facebook, live on YouTube. You can always find our archives on Facebook and YouTube. This particular episode, we recommend share this information. We all know somebody who's recovering from COVID, and we want to make sure that they do the right things because, as we've seen from the data, there are a lot of long-term health implications. And so the more things you can do to help your body recover, the better quality of life that everyone coming out of this illness is going to have. So thank you for listening. and join us again next week.